Welcome back to OtakuDaiKun. Dai-chan here, and you are watching the Waifu Files, a series where we discover and celebrate various anime and games through their lovely ladies. For this episode, we'll be shining a spotlight on anime featuring dynamic duos, partnerships between pairs of women from both modern and retro series. In all, we've got 6 different anime to cover: Lycoris Recoil, Dirty Pair Flash, Noir, Hyperdoll, and Gunsmith Cats. Part of why I'm bundling these shows together is so that perhaps you'll enjoy one and be inspired to watch the others. All of these shows are awesome, and I'm excited to share them with you today. Since we have so much to cover, let's jump right in. The newest anime on this list is Lycoris Recoil, where young girls are trained to fight crime as part of a secret organization called Direct Attack, or DA for short. For the sake of public safety, these girls, classified as Lycoris, are dispatched throughout Japanese society. Adept at both social and military matters, they intervene to stop potential threats, ideally before they can escalate. The idea is that these girls will blend into society without disrupting the peace like traditional officers or soldiers do. The first of this anime's dynamic duo is Chisato Nishikigi, who is renowned as the most elite Lycoris, having once single-handedly protected Tokyo's old radio tower from terrorists. She's a bullet-time babe with unparalleled reflexes that help her dodge enemy fire and strike back with absurd accuracy. While she's licensed to respond with lethal force, she's a pacifist, opting to use ammunition that merely incapacitates criminals. To that end, Chisato isn't on the best terms with her agency, preferring to handle matters more amicably. Her compassion extends to all citizens, even the criminals she subdues. Rather than operating directly under the DA, she instead works at a humble cafe called Lycoris, taking on individual tasks as a mercenary. Sadly, her nature as a pacifist directly conflicts with the circumstances behind her survival. You see, Chisato was born with a congenital heart disease that would have killed her. An associate of the Allen Institute, Shinji Yoshimatsu, sponsored Chisato, gifting her a new artificial heart. Shinji believes that certain people are born with God-given genius, and that Chisato in particular is a genius for killing. As her sponsor, he has an interest in making her the perfect killer, which goes against her entire philosophy. This is tragic, as Chisato naively admires her sponsor, wearing a necklace from the Allen Institute as inspiration. Much of the story is dedicated to events that push Chisato to the edge, provoking her to break her philosophy in order to survive. This includes encounters with the terrorist Majima, who aims to expose the Lycoris and fracture Japan's sterile peace. To make matters worse, Shinji sabotages Chisato's heart, rendering it defective. He's got another heart as a backup, but she's got to retrieve it directly from his body. That's right, he's so obsessed that he's willing to die to get Chisato to kill. Metaphorically, however, she's got a heart of gold and remains optimistic in the face of peril. For that, I consider Chisato a certified favorite. This show's hella good, and you absolutely have to see it, if not for the Yuri vibes it exudes. Chisato's partner is Takina Inoue, a disgraced second-rank Lycoris who's assigned to shadow Chisato after disobeying orders. Takina's a no-nonsense girl, whose primary goal is to get reinstated as soon as possible. At first, she sees Chisato as inefficient, someone who's avoiding her responsibility to protect the people. That said, it doesn't take long for Takina to realize Chisato has her own way of doing things, and that perhaps the DA isn't so infallible. The two become intimate friends, with Takina's bluntness serving as the perfect foil to Chisato's blind optimism. They have a lot to learn from each other. For one, Takina is so objective that she doesn't ever treat herself. She wears boxers for convenience, prompting Chisato to take her on a shopping trip. In contrast, when the cafe struggles financially, Takina's the perfect candidate to step up and get the business back on track. While she admires her partner's pacifism, she doesn't hold herself to the same standard. Thus, if it's to save Chisato, Takina is willing to kill for her sake. After all, who's gonna look after someone who's already looking out for everyone else? When Takina finally returns to DA's headquarters, she does so not for herself, but to find a way to save her partner. Once she succeeds, Takina realizes she'd rather remain with Chisato than work for the DA. As a team, they can help the world far more than either could imagine on their own. I absolutely adore their bond, whether it's legitimately romantic or just yuri bait. Both girls bring out each other's strengths and protect against their weaknesses. They literally save each other's lives, and the way they hug is just irresistible. Takina and Chisato aren't the only employees working at Lycoris. We've also got Mizuki Nakahara, a former member of DA's intelligence division, who now serves as a waitress for the chance to meet hot guys. She binges wedding magazines while searching for a husband, but this usually ends with her sating her sorrows with a nightly drink. Given her connections to Chisato and the other Lycoris, she tends to get wrapped up in their affairs, further postponing her quest for matrimony. To be fair, she can be pretty nosy, involving herself in other people's business. When the cafe shuts down, her backup plan is to move to Vancouver to continue her manhunt. However, the chance to help save Chisato keeps her in Japan, and she remains with the cafe when it relocates to Hawaii. In a show with gay couples and yuri baiting, Mizuki stands out as a black sheep, but that doesn't make her bad by any means. A more reluctant waitress at Lycoris is Kurumi, a short girl who uses the cafe as shelter. She ran away from home as a child and developed as a talented hacker under the alias Walnut. It's a dangerous gig, becoming even more treacherous when she's hired by Shinji Yoshimatsu to hack the DA. After asking a few too many questions, the Allen Institute tries to assassinate her. It certainly doesn't help that a rival hacker, Robota, is able to leak her location in an attempt to usurp her. With nowhere else to turn, Kurumi enlists Lycoris to protect her. Cleverly, the group fakes Walnut's death, and to remain hidden, Kurumi works at the cafe in exchange for safe refuge. While it's useful to have a hacker on your side, Kurumi's fairly useless when it comes to being a waitress. Aside from hosting gaming parties with the cafe's regulars, she's not exactly motivated. She's at her best when secluded to the closet, typing away at her computer. From there, she serves as Lycoris' mission control, assisting Chisato and Takina via her hacking, as well as surveillance drones. When the action settles down, she considers moving to Germany, but also winds up in Hawaii. They've built a nice little family after all. Lycoris Recoil's got a number of side characters to check out. First up, we've got Saori Shinohara, a girl who struggles with a stalker and consults Lycoris after the police fail to take her case seriously. It's a good thing, too, because when she gets kidnapped, Chisato and Takina rescue her without injury. For a secret service of young girls, you'd think we'd have more waifu to cover. That said, there are 4 other members of DA worth mentioning. Fuki Harukawa is a first-ranked Lycoris who used to partner with Takina before she was reassigned. Fuki's a competitive girl who was likely adopted by the DA around the same time as Chisato. The two of them are rivals in that respect, and as someone who highly respects the DA, Chisato's attitude upsets her. Fuki's new partner winds up being a second-ranked Lycoris named Sakura Otome. Like Fuki, she can be pretty confrontational, antagonizing Takina without good reason. Her cockiness leads her to underestimate her opponents and compromise important missions. The main reason Takina was reassigned in the first place was because she recklessly opened fire on a group of terrorists when they had a hostage. That hostage was Erika Janome, a second-rank Lycoris who wound up captured by the enemy. Takina's actions certainly were dangerous, but at the same time, DA's orders were to stand by and watch as Erika was sacrificed for the good of the mission. To that end, Erika's grateful to Takina and feels bad about getting her in trouble. Erika's roommate at DA is Hibana Kagari. She's an obedient Lycoris, but in the end, is supportive when Erika wants to repay Takina for disobeying orders. The commander of Direct Attack is a woman named Kusunoki. She's a stern commander who puts the organization before any individual Lycoris, and in that respect, she can be quite stubborn. Her hubris is what allows Majima to both expose and endanger the Lycoris. I can't say I like her. She's got this overly boyish haircut, bony face, and no eyebrows. What's up with that? Then there's Yamagishi, Chisato's primary care doctor. I can appreciate her for her service, but otherwise she's frumpy and looks kinda mean. So much for bedside manner. The last waifu in Lycoris Recoil is Himegama, Shinji Yoshimatsu's servant in the Allen Institute. She's the one who tampers with Chisato's heart, disabling its ability to recharge. During Majima's attack on the radio tower, she attacks Takina in an attempt to provoke Chisato into killing. She later gets fucking destroyed by Chisato's guardian Mika, who has no problem killing her to get to Shinji if it means retrieving a new heart for Chisato. Himegama's dedicated, I'll give her that. Our next dynamic duo comes from one of my all-time favorite anime series, Dirty Pair. It's a science fiction anime set in a future where mankind has taken to space. The World Welfare Works Association, or 3WA, intervenes between interplanetary issues by dispatching highly trained trouble consultants. Two of these consultants, Kei and Yuri, officially go by the codename Lovely Angels. But because all their missions tend to involve a ton of collateral damage, they're more infamously known as the Dirty Pair. Said damages are never directly their fault, but their reputation has been cemented nonetheless. That doesn't stop these girls from protecting the galaxy and searching for boyfriends while they're at it. Of the two girls, Kei is undoubtedly a tomboy with a rough attitude. She's 19, having been born November 27, 2121, on her home planet of Neogi. Her short, red hair is like a flame that matches her temper. She's an expert shot who prefers heavy weaponry, choosing to shoot first and ask questions later. Kei grew up being friends with an effeminate boy named Kaya, who later becomes a space pirate that conflicts with her. Right from the onset, Kei and Yuri's career was filled with chaos. One of their earliest missions centered around the planet Lemire, which injured 3,521 people in its destruction. In contrast, they saved the people of their home, Eleanor City, when its master computer Brian goes out of control. Their services range from countering terrorists, infiltrating crime rings, investigating mysteries, protecting VIPs, transporting valuable goods, hunting pests, and pursuing wanted criminals. Even in their off hours, they get attacked by assassins and wind up in dilemmas they never get paid for. This has led Kei to befriending plenty of hot guys, though she's never been able to maintain a stable relationship. She's into younger men who can take charge, but not if they're too old or have a lot of chest hair. When she finally meets the right guy, she's either too busy with work or he's too freaked out by that work. Such is the life of a trouble consultant. If you haven't noticed yet, I have a clear bias toward this show. The classic Kei here is absolutely a certified favorite. She's not the only one, though. Kei's partner Yuri is also 19 years old, born March 18, 2121, on the planet Koacha. She's the more feminine of the two, but that won't stop her from getting violent when provoked. She's perfectly capable with firearms, but tends to use other weapons like energy swords and whips. Her signature weapon is Bloody Card, an enhanced throwing card meant to take down multiple foes at once. Yuri also enjoys meeting cute guys, but has someone specific she's waiting for. Her childhood friend, Billy Galette, once promised they would travel the stars together, and she's ready to do so as soon as Billy finishes making his own spaceship, the Lucia. Thus, you won't see her on many dates, and she's more likely to be found reading gossip magazines on board her ship, the Lovely Angel. Tragically, her beloved Billy, who became an engineer, was captured and forced to construct deadly weapons at a prison on Poisonville. He died there, and even after his demise, his pendant continued to signal out to Yuri. The Dirty Pair liberates all the other captured engineers, and when Kei discovers Billy's fate, she chooses not to tell Yuri the truth directly. Despite this, Yuri eventually does find love with a man named Dan. He becomes an elite explorer, more specifically a crusher mercenary. Yuri's child, Joe, succeeds Dan in this line of work. That's right, Crusher Joe is apparently a spin-off sequel to Dirty Pair. I had no idea. It should go without saying, but Kei and Yuri are both essential in this pairing. She's a certified favorite too. You can't really have one without the other. They may argue all the time, but when separated, it's clear they're best friends. As for a ton of side characters, Giulietta is a young woman who just got married to her husband Romeo and awaits a romantic evening with him. Kei and Yuri are pursuing a genetically engineered cat, and Giulietta misunderstands, thinking the cat is some woman Romeo is cheating on her with. It's very silly. In pursuit of that same cat, the girls face off with a pair of twins named Jerry and Lan. They happen to be pro wrestlers. Len's older brother is the engineer who enhanced the kitty, prompting these wrestling gals to also pursue it. If I'm not mistaken, the Waifu Files' very first trans woman is Lilis Joanka, a male who had reassignment surgery before meeting her beloved fiancé Clicky. Clicky's dad doesn't approve of their marriage and hires Kei and Yuri to rescue him, even though he's not even kidnapped. Upon realizing this, the lovely angels instead choose to support Joanka and Clicky's elopement. A pair of criminals, Moila and her partner Pete, try to fool the police by dressing up as Yuri and Kei respectively. It doesn't end well for them. At the 3WA, the R&D department is headed by Chief Officer Fangoria. She enlists the dirty pair to capture an experimental mouse that gains intelligence and sparks a rebellion to free his mate, Chi-Chi. It actually gets rather depressing. One time, Kei and Yuri escort an old man named Joe as he explores some ancient ruins in search of treasure. Along the way, they encounter a rival treasure hunter named Clementine. Nothing wrong with a little competition, right? Lady Sakurako is the naive, sheltered heiress to the Yodozuya Corporation. Kei and Yuri are assigned to bodyguard her as she explores the nearby city for the first time. Of course, assassins try to kill her, but that's what the lovely angels are for. Sakurako may be clueless, but she's got a good heart. In pursuit of an assassin named Sundrik, the pair find themselves on board a ship with Margaret Tyner, a nurse traveling with her son Jack. 6 years prior, she separated from her husband due to her drug addiction, and she reunites with him under morbid circumstances. A rich aristocrat, Lord Riamon, hires the pair to vindicate his broken doll, only to instead fall for his housemaid Meralda. Well, that's convenient. When an entire spaceship lands with its crew and passengers all gone, the pair are hired to investigate. Another investigator, Shannon Ross, is missing her own daughter Melody from that same flight. Turns out her son Arthur faked the disappearance so Shannon wouldn't divorce her husband. This actually works, uniting the parents so they can rescue the real ship, which gets hijacked by smugglers. An old roboticist, Jobs Garo, and his wife print counterfeit money to avenge their son, who took his own life after being exploited by a corrupt bank. Out of grief, they recreate their son as a Terminator-style android. It turns violent, as Terminators do. The planet of Ukbar plays host to myriad wicked experiments conducted by AJ Development. One of its victims is Missini, a girl with psychic powers who flees to the forest of Nolandia after the death of her adopted mother, Connie Brighton. The corporation's chief of security, Samara Gallen, tries to keep things under wraps, but ultimately can't do anything to quell Missini's trauma. Before any other children can be exploited like her, Missini activates her powers and destroys the entire planet, taking Samara down with her. Dirty Pair's Flight 005 conspiracy features Lilia and Lori, the wife and daughter of Professor Dornenstern. Kei and Yuri rescue them after they've been taken hostage to force Dornenstern to work for a military organization. As you can see, kidnapping scientists is a common theme, but this is one of their best adventures. One of the 3WA's retired trouble consultants is the legendary Madame Beryl. She helps the lovely angels infiltrate a suspicious wedding and shows off her skills using Bloody Card, the same weapon Yuri prefers. Old ladies still got game. Sandra Guts was one of the top students applying for the 3WA alongside Kei and Yuri. Her bad temper, ego, and bullying of other trainees caused her to be rejected, and ever since, she's held a grudge against the Dirty Pair. In a complete 180, she becomes the boss of a crime syndicate, and in an effort to prove her superiority, she takes a performance enhancement drug named Hustle that makes her a berserk muscle mama. Her hustle profiting is thwarted by the Dirty Pair, as she's too obsessed with beating Kei to prioritize her twisted business. 20 years ago, Dr. Nea was murdered, and his case remains cold. Now, the 3WA unearths Nea's daughter, Tia, who's been suspended in cold sleep. The dirty pair team up with Tia to find and confront her father's killer, but it's tough since she doesn't speak, and the killer doesn't go down without a fight. You know what I love just as much, if not more, than the original Dirty Pair? The reboot series Dirty Pair Flash, of course. It features a new Kei and Yuri, who take over the title Lovely Angels from the previous team. It's not long before they too wind up better known as the Dirty Pair for their antics. While these girls are similar to the original Lovely Angels, they're different enough to be considered separate characters. Flash's incarnation of Kei retains her tomboy attitude, but with even crazier hair. Her birthday is January 1st, 2231, and she's from the planet Worko. She's not against meeting a hot guy, but it's usually not her priority, as she often argues with Yuri for being distracted on missions. That's not to say Kei performs much better, as she's on her 4th probation at the 3WA. Her academic score is low, but she's a talented sharpshooter who uses a custom blaster. In this continuity, the original Lovely Angels are named Molly and Iris. The latter is Kei's predecessor, and because she can't get over Molly's death, she's fallen into despair and become an assassin named Lady Flare. As an antagonizing force, Flare pushes Kei to confront herself and step up her game as a trouble consultant. In return, Kei helps Flare realize the error of her ways, discovering the truth behind Molly's death. Whether or not you think the original Kei would ever do this, I still think it's an awesome twist for a reboot. Kei's career as a trouble consultant has her overcoming insecurities, such as her irrational fear of ghosts. She even calms her temper in order to take care of a crying baby while being pursued by assassins. Kei doesn't take anyone's bullshit and is sure to voice her complaints. Despite those complaints, she always gets the job done, even if kicking and screaming all the while. Acting butch and chugging beer may not be the most elegant traits, but I love this Kei just as much as all my other certified favorites. She and Yuri may seem to mix like oil and water, but this is a cocktail I don't mind binging. Flash's Yuri is the epitome of girlish vanity. She was born on March 3rd, 2231, in the boonies of Shack G, but that doesn't stop her from reaching for a life of glamour. Unfortunately, she's picked the wrong profession for that, as it thwarts her myriad attempts to find and keep a decent boyfriend. She goes through a lot of sleaze bags along the way. Like her Molly counterpart, Yuri specializes in her bloody card, and even more often fights with an energy sword. She's the type to pamper herself with lavish skincare and a strict beauty regimen, yet her jobs often leave her hair and clothes in tatters from explosions, gunfire, you name it. It's an odd contrast that she balances surprisingly well. Even though Kei's supposed to be her teammate, Yuri sees her as a brood and always takes the chance to tease and provoke Kei, sometimes taking it too far. Yuri's beauty often lands her in the spotlight of others' affections, whether it be from guys or fellow girls. In one mission, her feminine charm makes her suited to confront a reclusive scientist who's retreated into his own fantasy world. Yuri's even got a wealthy stalker, Julian, who idolizes her enough to create a robot replica of her. Rather than disgust, Yuri feels envy, making it her goal to prove that the real thing is far better. Her constant whining is adorable, and I love her English voice, played by Kimberly Robertson. Just like Flash's Kei, this version of Yuri is another certified favorite. I grew up with these girls, and I'll be forever grateful. Flash also has its slew of side characters. For a time, Kei takes a leave of absence from the 3WA, during which Yuri is paired with a new partner, Lily. She proves to be even more vain and immature, trying to outright skip work to go meet her boyfriend. Needless to say, when shit hits the fan, Lily doesn't have what it takes to carry out her job. Her complete incompetence gives Yuri a newfound appreciation for her true partner. One of the pair's longer missions involves protecting a programmer named Toma while he fixes the mainframe of World's World, a planet-sized theme park built to replicate 20th century Earth. After Kei and Yuri's hotel room is completely destroyed, the only place they can stay is the dorm of an all-girls school. Even though they aren't really students, the two are shown around by a freshman, Kumi Kazamatsuri. she spreads rumors of a ghost haunting the dorm's bathroom. Kumi and her peers perpetuate Kei's paranoia, even though the school being haunted is a park attraction. Maintenance on World's World takes a considerable amount of time. In that time, Toma falls in love with Lena, the beautiful owner of a flower shop. He bends over backwards trying to arrange a date with her, but winds up completely mistaken about her affections. In a moment of humiliation, Toma discovers that Lena is in love with Yuri. The name certainly fits in this context, though contrary to it, Yuri is not a lesbian. Given that they're universal peacekeepers, the 3WA has its share of enemies. One of them, Monica de Noir, comes from a long line of assassins. For her 15th birthday, Monica is given her first mission as the killer Sweet Fairy. Her targets, Kei and Yuri. Even among assassins, Monica is unique for theming her weapons of murder around candies, explosive plushies, and even a teddy bear battle mech. Despite practicing against simulations of the dirty pair, the real deal is able to overcome her traps and give her the punishment she rightfully deserves. Monica is utterly humiliated, yet persists to torment the pair as a whiny brat. Kei and Yuri are assigned to infiltrate a volleyball tournament for the chance to meet and capture a notorious criminal overlord who only shows himself to the winners. This has the dirty pair training relentlessly at a space station dedicated to athletics. While Kei and Yuri are by far the most beautiful girls there, the station and tournament are filled with plenty of unnamed gals I refuse to ignore. I already mentioned Julian, the noble who lived alongside an idealized replica of Yuri. Well, after living with the real Yuri, Julian broadens his horizons. Sadly, Yuri thinks this means he wants to marry her, finally fulfilling her dream of luxury. In truth, though, Julian instead falls for a girl named Wendy, who's been sending him love letters. Good for them, bad for Yuri. Flash's final waifu is purely platonic. She's Rosa, the daughter of 3WA's chief Poporo from a previous marriage. Rose is a sweet girl who gets caught up in an attack on 3WA headquarters. She gets taken hostage by Berenger, one of Poporo's former enemies. After the pair saves her, Poporo starts to appreciate them more and helps the girls fill out their mountains of paperwork. Next up, we've got the anime series Noir, which tells the story of two assassins for hire who use the codename Noir. They're caught in the scheming of an ancient organization known as the Soldats, who have secretly infiltrated all facets of society and control the world from within. Muriel Bouquet was a young girl born in Corsica to her parents Laurent and Odette. The Bouquets owe their influence and wealth to their tie with the Soldats. Unfortunately, this comes to haunt them when the Soldats covet Muriel to be raised as a candidate for Noir, a pair of prophesized assassins who will serve as the Soldats' twin swords. Not wanting their daughter to be raised into a merciless killer, Muriel's parents refused and were consequently eliminated. Ironically, in her quest to uncover her parents' killer, Muriel has become an assassin on her own terms. After years of work with no leads, she is contacted by Kirika Yumura, an amnesiac girl with a false identity. Kirika invites Muriel to join her in a search to discover their respective pasts. Agreeing to this, Muriel labels their partnership Noir, having no clue the name already has a completely different meaning to the Soldats. As the two of them take on various jobs, they develop a cold yet functioning bond. Their encounters slowly lead them to the truth that they are merely pawns in the Soldats' pursuit of power. Refusing to play along, Muriel fights to continue living for her own sake, just as her parents wanted. In a tragic twist, the one who actually killed Muriel's parents is her current partner Kirika. She was raised by the Soldats as another candidate for Noir, and her first mission was murdering Laurent and Odette at the young age of 8. Not knowing any better, she simply did as she was taught, killing without emotion. Her memory loss and partnership with Muriel wind up part of the Soldats' campaign to test her skills in genuine, mortal combat. For most of the series, Kirika's memories are repressed, leaving her clinging to the hope that she might actually be a normal girl. She wants to attend school and be like other girls her age. Yet, she continues to be hunted down by armed men and responds with an innate talent for killing that she can't explain. When the truth comes to light, Kirika begs Muriel to kill her, but by that point, the two have already gotten close. They rightfully turn their gaze on the soldats who have been manipulating them their entire lives. As one raised right in the soldats' nest, however, Kirika struggles to establish her own will apart from how she was nurtured. In other words, it's tough for her to overcome her childhood grooming and move forward. It is her friendship with Muriel, as well as their time together, that ultimately carry Kirika through to the end. Odette's final words were, after all, a request for Kirika to protect Muriel in her place. Thus, even as the soldats remain their enemy, Muriel and Kirika continue as unaffiliated hitmen. There's actually a third Noir candidate, and that happens to be Chloe. She and Kirika were the primary pair meant to become Noir, with Muriel being a bit of a third wheel. The two of them were raised at the manor, where candidates are supposed to undergo their final trials. While Kirika forgot their time training together, Chloe hopes to reignite those lost memories. As such, Chloe watches over Kirika throughout the show, taking on her own missions, and occasionally intervening to confront Kirika and Muriel. Wanting to respect Kirika's friendship, Chloe tolerates Muriel, but deep down, she's already convinced that she and Kirika have always been, and always will be, the true Noir. To that end, she's willing to cut Muriel down as a nuisance. Instead of using guns, Chloe assassinates her targets with knives, which requires more skill. Sure enough then, she's technically stronger than Muriel, but when they finally battle each other, Kirika intervenes. Poor Chloe, who spent her whole life trying to become half of Noir, is killed by the very person who was supposed to be her partner. She never had the opportunity to question her fate, and so she remained a pawn till the end. It's safe to say that we can pin all the conflict in this anime on Lady Altena. She's the mastermind of a more radical division of the soldats who worship the arrival of the true Noir. Not everyone in the organization wants to create Noir, but her influence is strong enough to greenlight the project. It's important enough to her that she's willing to sacrifice herself to make it happen. As Muriel and Kirika are off completing missions as the fake Noir, Altena remains at the manor to influence and order Chloe on her path. It seems Altena's obsession with Noir comes from her own trauma as a survivor of the Bosnian War that occurred from 1992 to 1995. She was assaulted by soldiers and convinced that if love can bring about suffering, hatred can bring about salvation. Thus, when Chloe is killed, Altena tries to provoke Kirika and Muriel into killing her as their last trial. She dies, not out of hatred, but through Kirika's attempt to save Muriel. Specifically, she gets the Golem treatment, and perhaps rightfully so. Two of Altena's closest followers were Born and Marines. Of the two, Marines gives her life to thwart Kirika and Muriel as they infiltrate the manor. She was smart enough to wear a bulletproof vest, but it couldn't protect her from a dagger to the neck. As for Born, well, she was just as expendable as Chloe. After declaring her loyalty to the main branch of the soldats, Altena personally shot her to make way for the final ritual. Silvana Grione is an assassin who used to know Muriel from childhood. Back then, Silvana traumatized Muriel by adorning her with a crown of flowers before slicing through it with a ritual dagger. As an adult, Silvana is loyal to the Sicilian mafia, even murdering her own father to become the brutal princess of Cosa Nostra. After Noir assassinates a member of the Cosa Nostra, Silvana and Muriel are forced to fight each other once more. Noting that Muriel is still trembling like she did as a child, Silvana gives her the kiss of death. During what's meant to be a one-on-one duel, the Into Kabile, Kirika steps in and helps Muriel emerge victorious. To be fair, Silvana did force them to fight the three Mafia Saints just to get to her. This show's last waifu is Xiao Li, a Taiwanese assassin for the Hong Yiban Triad who fights with poisonous fingernails. She's hired to kill Noir and attacks them as they meet with a Triad informant, leaking information on the soldats. Xiao Li takes Muriel hostage, hoping to lure out Kirika, but is thwarted by Chloe's intervention. Ultimately, Xiao Li confesses she wants to join the soldats and tries to prove herself by killing the informant. Chloe doesn't really care though, and eliminates her on the spot. You probably haven't heard of it, but there's this fun little 2-episode OVA called Rakushou Hyperdoll, Mew and Micah the Easy Fighters. Rather simply, it's the story of 2 alien androids who are sent to Earth to fight off invaders. The girls Mew and Micah are rather unreliable in their protective duties. They try to hide their identities by posing as high schoolers, but are promptly discovered by their male classmate Hideo Akai. They threaten him into keeping their secret, and because he knows, he's always around when they transform to fight kaiju-tier enemies. He goes above and beyond to keep their identities hidden, since they're otherwise totally oblivious. Micah's the bustier girl, with long red hair and an outgoing persona. Mew, on the other hand, exudes Sailor Mercury vibes with her short blue hair and introverted demeanor. They're often too busy relaxing or hanging out in the city to be on the lookout for monsters. Only after they get chewed out by their boss do they transform into the Hyperdolls and unleash hell upon their enemies, who appear to be the product of an evil organization that, sadly, isn't fully developed. Needless to say, I adore the dolls' outfits and the way they fight. Watching them be total brats is awesome too, and they're another relic of my childhood that count as certified favorites. It's an absolute tragedy that this anime only has 2 episodes, as I would have loved to see more. Wouldn't it be cool if we could just siphon a handful of filler shonen episodes and trade them for a show that actually deserves more attention? Another of Akai's classmates is a somewhat dorky girl named Shoko Aida. It doesn't exactly take a genius to know the resemblance between Micah, Mew, and the Hyperdolls. This has Shoko constantly suspicious, except for maybe when she gets drunk at the town festival. Like Akai, she always seems to be around when monsters show up, but without ever witnessing the dolls directly, she has yet to confirm their identities. She also appears to have a crush on Akai, but with only 2 episodes, there really isn't enough development. Take this chick Erika, for example. She's clearly working for the bad guys, but we never learn anything else about her. Such a shame. Another woefully short OVA series is Gunsmith Cats. This one's set in Chicago, Illinois, featuring 2 charismatic bounty hunters who operate out of their gun shop, fittingly titled the Gunsmith Cats. Sometimes retail just doesn't pay the bills, and to make ends meet, these girls go wild, facing off against crime lords and professional assassins. Rally Irene Vincent is a lover of pizza and Ford muscle cars. Born October 4th, 1974, her Indian father was an Olympic marksman who taught her everything she knows. He wanted Rally to take over the family business, while her English mother wanted her to play the violin. The 2 of them nearly got divorced over this, until one day, Rally's mom was murdered while delivering the papers. Ever since, Rally's dad has been tracking down the culprits, leaving her to take care of the shop. For a time, he sent her money to get by on, but when that fund dried up, Rally took to bounty hunting. She's 19, but to obtain the license needed to sell firearms, she has fake IDs that say she's 21. On the job, she fights with a CZ-75 First Edition handgun and drives a bitching 1967 Ford Shelby Mustang Cobra GT 500. Rally's partner suspects her obsession with cars and guns served to tide her sexual libido, as she doesn't really open up to men unless it's to geek out about her passions. Similar to Chisato from the start of this video, Rally uses her expert marksmanship to avoid killing her targets, instead aiming for their guns or trigger fingers. Unfortunately, this has former targets seek her out to get revenge. While she's got her own favorite gun, Rally's full arsenal is quite extensive, certainly enough to overwhelm a noob like me. If for some reason she's out of weaponry, she's always got her feet and fists. Fun fact, there's also a Rally Vincent in the anime Riding Bean. It appears that Rally happens to be the prototype for this one. Rally's partner, May Hopkins, goes by the nickname Mini May. She's pint-sized, full of energy, and obsessed with massive explosions. May ran away from home at the age of 13, and then lived with her much older boyfriend, Ken Takizawa, until she was 17. In that time, she learned from him how to become a bomb specialist. Publicly, Ken got these skills through Hollywood, but he also plays a role in the Chicago underworld. This had him disappearing into the underground for years, leaving Mei to fend for herself. Mei initially got by as a prostitute in Chinatown and became good enough to start teaching newcomers. She developed lewd talents and a frisky temperament she's proud of, but admits she's much happier working with Rally at the shop. I guess you could say she still works on the streets, but now she lets loose with all manner of homemade explosives. Her signature weapon is the Mei Special, a grenade designed not to release shrapnel. Despite her background, Mei's petite stature lets her present as a boy, and she's often good enough to fool Ken, as well as police officers over the phone. To maintain her physique, she used to take growth-stunting herbal drugs, which I admit is pretty wild. Her whole character is wild, though. The manga goes into way more detail, so if you enjoy the anime, there's plenty more for you to experience. One of Rally's confidants is Becky Farah. Nicknamed the Nose, she serves as Rally's main source of underground information. Said info comes at a price, but even though Rally doesn't always keep up with payments, she and Becky are friends as well as business partners. Of course, that won't stop Becky from chasing after Rally for every dime she's due. To that end, I'd call it a feisty friendship. Reluctantly, this means Becky often gets involved with bounties beyond merely selling the info on them. Mostly, this involves her riding along with Rally's insanely aggressive driving. Two officers working for the Chicago Police Department are Kate and Kathy. Of the two, Kathy seems to assist Policeman Roy with clerical work and investigations at the office. Kate is left cleaning up after Rally and Mei's carnage. She also plays a key role in capturing the OVA's antagonist. That antagonist, as well as our last waifu, is Natasha Radinov, a former KGB agent turned freelance assassin. She accepts work in exchange for heroin, which she sells in Russia. She's hired to kill Rally and Mei after the two disrupt a gun smuggling operation. Decked out with a Kevlar-lined coat and a shit ton of weapons, Natasha attacks Rally and fails, getting injured in the process. For the sake of pride, Natasha continues her assault in Grand Park's Field Museum, where she meets her end. I'd say she's like a cockroach that just won't die, but she's much too pretty for that. Too bad she's both wicked and relentless. Unlike Rally, Natasha doesn't consider the moral ramifications of her jobs and pays the price for it. With that, I've just covered 6 different anime and a whopping 62 waifu. A lot of those are obscure side characters, but since I consider myself a lore master, it's worth digging up as many details as I can. This particular episode of the Waifu Files features some of my favorite shows, so I hope you've been inspired to check them out for yourself. As usual, don't forget to check out my full Waifu Files playlist for even more episodes, and let me know in the comments what anime or games you'd like to see in a future video. See you later!
Thanks for watching. This channel relies on support from viewers like you.
Please help us out by dropping a like and comment. Subscribe for more videos, and be sure to enable notifications. Or hit up our Discord so you never miss out on a new upload.
Most importantly, if you can spare it, please sign up as a channel member, either through YouTube, Patreon, or Subscribestar. You can find links in the description. We've got perks like exclusive content or early access.
Until next time,
Celebrate your fandom. I want to give a special shout out to all my $10 and up supporters: Video Gamer 75, Dante Pendragon, Stephen Elak, Otaku Mom, Mystic Samurai 1983, Free Brick, Alexis Yukio Gomez Yamato, Lunar Works, Link Pendrago, Olympian Doll, Observer Bellis, James Hewitt, Uncanny EXP, Crow Calum, Sal Soto, Tristan Riggin, Winter's Edge, Dionysus, Caitlin P, Sogai CH, Sith Lord 906, Vladimirovna, The Taz 96, Kango X 77, and Alistair Bernadotte. Thank you all so much.